the strongest fortresses are often breached from within. Ukraine is using an infiltration combat model deep behind enemy lines to dismantle Russia. Less than 48 hours after a strategic bomber in Russia's hinterland was attacked, the Crimean Bridge, viewed by Putin as a historic achievement, was struck again. One represents the nation's strategic deterrence foundation, the other a transportation lifeline supporting frontline operations, yet neither can withstand Ukrainian sneak attacks. Previously, multiple senior Russian generals were assassinated, all carried out by Ukraine's security and intelligence agencies through special operations, with even some Russians allegedly involved. So why can't self-proclaimed powerful Russia stop Ukrainian infiltration? In the early morning of June 3, Ukraine's security service carried out underwater precision blasting on the Crimean Bridge. Explosives equivalent to 1,100 kilograms of TNT damaged the bridge's underwater support structures. After the incident, Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, arrested a man in Sevastopol who, acting on orders from Ukraine's security service, had retrieved bomb components from a secret cache and assembled an improvised explosive device containing over 1.2 kilograms of explosives according to video instructions, this being only part of the total ordnance. It is reported that Ukrainian agents had disguised themselves as fishermen months earlier, using submersible vehicles to install explosive materials in batches at the base of the bridge piers. They accumulated sufficient explosive yield before detonating it in one go. Although the explosion did not completely destroy the bridge, it caused structural damage. This marks the third attack on the bridge. The Crimean Bridge, a signature project overseen personally by Putin, serves as a logistical artery for the Russian military to secure material supplies to frontline troops. In fact, the Russian military had deployed defensive measures for the Crimean Bridge but still failed to prevent the Ukrainian attack, which also indicates significant loopholes in Russia's defense. Just 2 days prior, Ukraine's security service had similarly used meticulously planned long-term infiltration to attack an airbase in Russia's hinterland, destroying dozens of strategic bombers. In this incident, a Russian man named Timofeyev played a crucial role. He established a freight company in December 2024, using long-haul transportation operations as cover to deliver Ukrainian agents' drones and supporting equipment to pre-designated attack locations, all successfully evading Russian security checks. After the attack, the man had fled Russia. Additionally, a man living in Moscow, recruited by Ukrainian intelligence, was tasked with carrying out an attack. He installed a received explosive device on a scooter, then placed the scooter at the entrance of an apartment building on Ryazansky Avenue in southeastern Moscow. He also rented a car with a dash cam to monitor the scene in real time. In the early morning of December 17, when Lieutenant General Kirillov, commander of Russia's NBC Defense Forces, and his aide exited the apartment building, the behind-the-scenes commanders in Dnipro, Ukraine, remotely activated the explosive device. Lieutenant General Kirillov was killed on the spot. In fact, since the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war, similar attacks have been countless. Airports, ammunition depots, bombers, senior generals, and more have repeatedly fallen victim to Ukrainian sneak attacks. Even Putin's own motorcade was once surrounded by drones. Although the Russian military has gained advantages on the front line, its rear bases have been repeatedly raided by Ukrainian agents. Why is this happening? Is Ukraine's intelligence network too strong, or is Russia incompetent? As we all know, the Slavs once established the renowned KGB. After the Soviet Union's collapse, Russia and Ukraine each inherited part of the KGB's personnel and institutions, renaming them the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation, FSB, and the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU. These two agencies are now the main players in the intelligence war between Russia and Ukraine, but their performances have been drastically different. The SBU has successfully orchestrated multiple operations, striking fear into the hearts of Russians. The FSB, while also a feared entity, inspires terror primarily among Russia's own elites. Putin has launched a major purge of the FSB's 5th Directorate, with over 150 agents including its director, Beseda, arrested or dismissed. The 5th Directorate is specifically responsible for foreign intelligence operations. According to media reports, Putin allocated enormous funds to the 5th Directorate for bribing Ukrainian military intelligence officials and government employees. However, the Directorate's personnel colluded to embezzle most of the funds, while fabricating false intelligence claiming that multiple key figures within Ukraine's military and government had been bought off. They alleged that these individuals would carry out sabotage from within and assist Russian forces in seizing half of Ukraine once Russian troops advanced. Misled by the Fifth Directorate's fake intelligence, the Russian military believed Ukraine's internal ranks had been completely infiltrated and that victory would be effortless, thus approving military action against Ukraine. On February 24, Russia's elite airborne forces flew by helicopter to Antonov Airport near Kiev. According to Russian military leadership's plan, controlling this airport would equate to gripping Kiev's throat, leaving Ukraine with no choice but to surrender. It is alleged that the elite paratroopers who raided Antonov Airport carried military dress uniforms and medals in their backpacks, having prepared to participate in a parade on Independence Square after capturing Kiev. However, the intelligence for this operation had long been intercepted by Ukrainian forces, turning the lightning strike into a suicide mission from 1,000 miles away. The Vanguard unit was completely wiped out. While Russia's elite forces have shown remarkable performance in the war, and the internet often praises no cowards at Antonov, these young soldiers never imagined that the cowards were not on the battlefield but in the offices of the Fifth Directorate. Upon learning the truth, Putin was furious and ordered a full-scale investigation into the Fifth Directorate. However, the corruption and intelligence fraud within the Directorate had caused irreparable damage, leaving Russia with no way to reverse course. In fact, such corruption was not unique to the Fifth Directorate within the FSB. After the Soviet Union's collapse, due to economic hardships and other factors, a large number of KGB employees were laid off, with only about 10% of its members forming the subsequent Federal Security Service of Russia. The dismissed KGB members found few viable career paths and instead established various security firms. Some even specialized in providing intelligence to Western countries. Leveraging their former networks, these individuals recruited FSB officials who had stayed on, forming partnerships to profit together. In this way, the West used financial incentives to gradually infiltrate the upper echelons of Russia's security agencies. In reality, Russia has long harbored a large pro-Western faction, and these individuals felt little psychological aversion to working for Western nations. After coming to power, Putin implemented targeted reforms, but the root problems were never fully resolved. Although the modern FSB originated from the KGB, it bears little resemblance to its predecessor in practice. This makes it less surprising that a series of major security breaches and losses have occurred since the Russia-Ukraine war began. Against the backdrop of prolonged war and Western sanctions, some young people from disadvantaged backgrounds have been bribed by Ukrainian agents due to financial hardship. For a reward of just a few tens of thousands of rubles, they have carried out sabotage as instructed. For example, the 2024 Belgorod railway bombing involved local young people, and Russian nationals have been implicated in past assassinations, as well as the recent Crimean bridge explosion and strategic bomber attack. In fact, besides its own internal problems, Russia's predicament also stems from the formidable capabilities of Ukraine's intelligence agencies. However, compared to Russia, Ukraine itself faces more severe Western infiltration. 90% of its leadership holds Western citizenship. The Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, also originally rooted in the KGB, has been completely transformed. Its current members are almost entirely trained by Western powers, proficient in various combat skills and equipped with weapons, equipment, satellite imagery, and cyber communication support from the West. Relying on this modernized equipment system, Ukrainian agents can remotely execute complex missions. Russia, relatively lagging in these areas, naturally struggles to defend against such threats. If Russia fails to address these issues, more attacks are likely to occur. One day, Ukraine might even orchestrate a globally shocking incident.